I'm Carol Bacak-Egbo, historian for Oakland County Parks. Join me now for an episode of History in Our Parks. The House That William Built, an Independence County Park story. In 1835, Robert and Melinda Bailey left New York for Michigan with their 2 daughters and 4 sons. They settled on land in Independence Township in Sections 2 and Sections 3. That land had been surveyed by Samuel Carpenter in 1818. In his survey notes, he had described the land. He had written, "Land poor and swampy, timbered with oak and tamarack." That was bound to be a challenge for the Bailey family. They persevered. By the 1850s, William Bailey had taken over his father Robert's farm and expanded it. Edwin had a farm to the north, and William Bailey had land in Section 3 that today is Independence Oaks North. They had huddled all around a lake, at that time called Whipple Lake, but soon to be named Bailey Lake. A small settlement began to grow up in the area called the Bailey Lake Settlement. Bailey Lake never had a grocery store, but they almost had a post office. They were scheduled to get one, but at the last minute, the decision was made to put it at Seymour Lake, just up the road. But Bailey Lake did have a school that operated almost 100 years, a school that was the center of the community. It was used for the Bailey Lake Sunday School and the Bailey Lake Debating Club. My favorite reference, however, to Bailey Lake came in October of 1874, when the correspondent from Bailey Lake told the Pontiac Weekly Gazette, "We are all alive out here. We are trying to help one another. We've been studying for some time how to get through this world alive. We find by being united, we can help ourselves and at the same time help our neighbors." Words of wisdom from the Bailey Lake settlement. Now the school, of course, is gone, and most of the houses that were once part of Bailey Lake, except for one, the house that William built. This was the house of William and Clarissa Bailey and their 10 sons. It wasn't their first house. Their first house likely looked like this, a Greek revival house, probably built in the 1840s. But in March of 1878, that house had burned. And within 1 year of the fire, William Bailey had replaced that house with a new and handsome country residence. The Bailey house had beautiful woodwork, outside and inside, and it was filled with history. Stories of his family. Stories like that of Edmund and John Bailey, who had both served in the Civil War with the 10th Michigan Cavalry. And the story of William Bailey, Jr., who one winter was working as a lumberjack when a tree fell the wrong way and killed him. He was only 27 years old. And the story of Herman Bailey, who was selling Singer sewing machines door to door in the area. And it's the story of Clarissa Bailey, the mother who cooked for those 10 boys and did their laundry and sang to them in the front parlor and was dearly loved by her sons, which is why they were all so heartbroken when she died of consumption, tuberculosis, on April 1st, 1881. In newspaper articles, she was buried in the front door yard with a headstone on the porch, perhaps so she'd always be nearby. And the story of Albert Bailey. Albert had moved to Bay City, where he worked for the Michigan Pipe Company. In 1893, he decided to go home and visit some of his brothers. He was staying with George Washington Bailey at the time, who was living in the old family homestead. Sadly, Albert had a heart attack and died in the family house. So many stories, so much history, and not just of the Bailey family, but the Bailey Lake settlement also, which is why it was so sad when in August of 2017, after all plans to save the house had seemed to fail, it was decided that the house was to be demolished. I was given permission to go into the house one final time, to take some photos and examine an interior wall to see how the house had been constructed. I randomly chose a wall in the front parlor. I began to take off layers and layers of wallpaper. And down to the laughing board so I could see the large boards inside the wall. It was a cloudy morning. Suddenly the sun came out, and one ray of light shone on the area I had just exposed, and I was able to make out in pencil the letter A. I began to remove a few more of the boards until I was able to make out Albert E. Bailey. Albert Bailey had signed his signature with a flourish in 1878 on an interior wall when the house was being built, and some 140 years later, I was to find it. Now what, or maybe who, pulled me to that particular wall, I don't know, but it was a good sign. Sunday, the demolition was halted, and it appeared that a project was coming together, spearheaded by Preservation Clarkston, a plan that could save the Bailey house. The idea was to do a land transfer with Oakland County Parks to obtain the house and a small piece of land it was on, and then have the building trades program of Clarkston Community Schools renovate and restore the house. Oakland County Parks worked with Preservation Clarkston to make that transfer and make the project possible. And the Bailey house was saved. It was saved by people coming together, working together, and helping each other. Just like the people of Bailey Lake Settlement had suggested in 1874. That was what saved the house that William built.